Hello everyone. Today in our video we are going to create a simple SSRS report. So it will be just like kind of introduction, like we'll have one data source, we'll have one data set, and finally we will bind it to a report. Now first of all, let's understand what is data source. So data source is nothing but connection to a server. Okay, so when we say we have a data source, that data source is nothing but directly connects to a server, and in that we can specify a specific database. So we have server, we have database. Now second which we have is data set. Now what is data set? Data set is nothing but a database which we have. Out of that database, a specific data which we are considering. So let's say, for example, I am having one database. In that database, I am having one table. So if I am doing select star on that table, that is nothing but my data set. So what is your data source? Data source is your server, in that server specific database. And your data set is nothing but in that database, a specific table. And on that table, when you write a query, that is your data set, a filtered data. Okay, so that is the concept of data source and data set. In this SSRS report, we will create one data source, we'll create one data set, and finally we'll bind that to our report. It's a very simple introductory SSRS report. Okay, so let's start. So here what I will do, I will create a new project, and in that I will just write over here report. Okay, report server project, and I'll just open that, and here I'll just say SSRS report, and this is just a plain display. So I will say over here a display. Okay, and once that is created, I will just click on the create button and our project will be created. Now in this project, what we have to do, we have to create firstly what? Data source. So let's right click on that and say add new data source. And here you can say there is a name. So I'll say ds underscore fetch database. Okay, so just basically we are specifying a specific database from a server. So let's go to the connection string now. So in this connection string, we have to change it to Microsoft SQL Server. Once you select that, then you have to select the server name. Now here, server name, I will go to SQL. I will just say file, connect, and I get my server name. I'll just copy that and I will put it over here. Once I put the server, I get all the databases in my server. So I will just say Vinod H. Punjabi, this is my database. I will say OK. I'll go to credentials, it's Windows connection, authentication. And once that is done, right, we can just say OK. So our first step is done, that is creating a server. In that server, we created a specific database and we just gave the details of the database name. So now we are connected to server, in that server specific database. Now in that database, now we are going to apply a data set. We are going to write a query. That query will be written on a specific table in that data set database. So that we are going to do through data set. So we'll say add new data set. And in this data set, we are now going to say ds underscore fetch employees data. And once we put that, then we have to say over here our query. So I will just pick this query. I will also say order by employee ID. And to be very precise, I will also specify the column names. Actually, select star and here specifying both the column names is same, but it's more efficient if you specify the column names from the performance perspective. Even though their There are very less records, but it's a good practice to specify the column names. So I'll just specify the column names, and once I specify the column names, so what I have to do is I have to check whether that query is working or not. So for that, first of all, I will check my data source. Okay, so here you can see I have given the server name and all the credentials. I will say Windows authentication. So once you say Windows authentication, now the data source should work fine. See, so now data source is working fine because now I specified Windows authentication. So I'm able to see employee ID, employee name, all good. I will say okay. Now what is the next step? Next step is creating a report. So what I will do, I'll say add new item. And in this, I'll say report, and report name is what? RS underscore fetch employees data. Okay. Once I say add, this report gets added. Okay. And then what you have to do, you have to just drag from here, from this toolbox. What you have to do, you have to just drag one So we have to drag just one table, okay? So that, you know, we are able to show the data in that table. Okay, here is my table. I drag it over here and I will say, yes, I want, see, this is our data set name and this arrow represents shared data set. So I'll just say shared data set. I will say, okay. Now in our case, how many columns are there? Only 2 columns, right? So what I will do, I will just remove that extra column over here. And once that extra column is removed, you only have 2 columns. Okay. Now here you have to specify the fields. Now what is our field over here? We have employee ID. Here what we have? Employee name. And once you specify these fields, what you have to do? You have to just, you know, kind of format that. Okay, text box properties. Just make the font as 12 points. Here also I will just make the font as 12 points. So and this is my, you know, kind of font which is 12 points. I'll say okay. Here also I will just make sure that I have the text box properties and font as 12 point. It's up to you, depending on your project requirements. You can set the font size accordingly. I'm just, for my purpose, I'm just making it 12, but it's up to you. Again, depends on your project requirements, what font you want, what font size you want, what font color you want. Again, depends. So just for demo purpose, I'll make it 12. And once you put all these details, then you have to just click on preview. Okay, so once you click on this preview, you see the data, okay, perfectly displayed, employee ID, employee name, and report which is perfectly as expected. You can then save it in your desired formats. Okay, you want it as PDF, you want it as Excel. So this was basically a demo. Okay, so this was basically a demo for creating a simple SSRS report. Thank you.